If you want to drive real revenue from your music, you're going to have to build a home on the web and monetize your diehard fans. And in this episode, we have some numbers to prove that point. So let's get to it.
You're listening
to the CD Baby
CD Baby
DIY
Musician
Podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to episode number 327 of the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast. My name is Kevin Bruner, and on today's episode, we're going to have Dave Cool back again from Bandzoogle. They had an amazing announcement this past week that really drives home the point on why it's so important for you to build a hub for your music career online and sell stuff to your fans through your website. But before we get to that interview, I want to remind you that right now at CD Baby, distribution of your music, whether it's a single or an album, is just $4.99. That includes everything, the barcode, all the monetization options, everything. $4.99 per release. And that deal is going to be coming to an end soon. And so you want to go check that out. Head on over to cdbaby.com and get in on that while it still lasts. One more thing before I bring Dave on is that it's been a while since we've had listener calls and emails. It's, one episode. This will be 2 episodes that we don't have it, but we want to hear from you. If you've got something on your mind, if you've got a question or comment, you want to weigh in on a topic that's been covered on the podcast already, you can call our listener line at 360-524-2209. Or you can email us at podcast@cdbabypodcast.com. And I know you haven't heard this episode yet, but we are talking about selling merch and digital goods. If you've been selling items through your website and having success, let us know. We want to know, what is it you're selling? What's working? How are you positioning it? How are you marketing it? So we can share with everyone else. All right. With that said, let's get to my interview with Dave Cool. Well, joining me is Dave Cool from Bandzoogle. Dave, how you doing?
I'm good, Kevin. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to catch up. We got to chat a little bit before we hit the record button, and we were talking about, I think, Folk Alliance 2020. We were so naive to what was about to happen.
Just before it all changed.
Folk Alliance, the end of January 2020 in New Orleans was the last time we hung out, and I think that might have been the last time you were on the podcast because we did record a podcast episode there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I'm sad to hear that I won't be seeing you at Folk Alliance, which is coming up in like a week and a half from our recording. But
I know I'm going to have such FOMO. I think it's shaping up to be a great event, kind of a return to the Folk Alliance that we knew pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I think that's what it's looking like. But yeah, excited to have you on the podcast. And, you've been at Bandzoogle forever. I think we both started our careers around the same time. I've been at CD Baby for just about 17 years now. And you've been at Bandzoogle.
I've been at Bandzoogle for about 11. But
okay, so
but probably we may have known each other before because
we knew each other before then. Yeah.
Because I made a documentary film about independent musicians and their experience coming up in the industry and how things were changing. And Derek Sivers, the founder of CD Baby, was in that documentary. So I think we probably communicated somewhere.
Yeah.
That was back in 2005, 6. So
yeah, I remember meeting you. I think it like one of the first as I went to for CD Baby or around that time. Because anyway, so you've been helping artists for a long time as well, and from a different perspective, helping them with their web presence and all the things that come with that. To start us off, why don't you give us like the overview of Bandzoogle? If an artist is listening now and hasn't heard of Bandzoogle, let them know. Just give us the overview. What Bandzoogle does for them.
The Bandzoogle elevator pitch. Yeah. So
there you go.
Bandzoogle is an all-in-one website platform where musicians can build a professional website, sell their music and merch, tickets, e-commerce is built in. It's all direct to fan, commission free. You can also run your mailing list through Bandzoogle. Obviously list your gigs and embed videos. We have integrations with a bunch of different services as well. But basically it's like, we power your professional presence online. So your website hub, which and I'll get into in a second of like where that kind of fits in 2023 for for your strategy in terms of like your overall marketing as a musician. But Bandzoogle's been around for 19 years. We power over 60,000 websites for artists around the world, including thousands and thousands of Host Baby members. We gave them a good home when Host Baby decided to move on. So we were thrilled to be able to do that, and so we have a nice family of musicians of tens of thousands strong who are using Bandzoogle to power their websites online. And the main purpose for your website as an artist is having that place on the internet that you own and control. So, as long as you keep renewing that domain name, like Bandzoogle, you get a free, you get hosting included, you get a free domain included, access to all the design templates, which you can customize and brand how you want. But that domain name is very important. So, fans in the industry will always be able to find you at that URL. And we don't own the domains for the artists, they own them. They own their data, they own their content, obviously, they own their mailing list members. So if a member ever leaves for whatever reason, they take their domain with them. But that, that presence online of your own website it's almost becoming more important now because how quickly things are changing with social media. And social media is great, and it's obviously a big part of your strategy for marketing your music and finding new fans. But Facebook, what tiny percentage of your updates are being seen by people? TikTok, the ever growing threat that TikTok's going to get banned. It's getting banned on. You mentioned before we went live, like in college campuses and universities and government institutions, and so will TikTok go away? I don't know, but it's you have to focus on driving the fans that you're making and the fans are discovering your music on these platforms and driving them somewhere where you can collect and own that data, that fan data, so that you can, if you're looking to like monetize your career and make some money, get them on your website. That's where your website comes into play. Get them on your website, get them hopefully buying some music, merch, tickets to shows, but collecting their emails. So collecting emails for your mailing list, because you'll own that database of fans for as long as you're an active musician. So again, with Bandzoogle, we have a built-in mailing list tool. So you're collecting emails through your website, maybe offering some exclusive content in exchange. There's an opt-in if you're buying music or merch. People can opt into your mailing list at the same time. And then you own that database of fans. So again, if you ever leave Bandzoogle or you want to use, let's say, MailChimp for your mailing list instead, which is totally fine, you can download that database of emails and upload it to the other service you're using, or vice versa. People, build up their mailing list somewhere else and they come to Bandzoogle, and we have the built-in capability to run your mailing list. So people upload it to Bandzoogle. But again, musicians own that. It's very important for us that they own their mailing lists, they own their domain, obviously own all their content, and we don't take any commission of sales. So it's basically artists are paying a monthly fee for hosting and access to the design tools, and everything else is theirs to help them run their business online. So it's kind of like that hub and spokes analogy, where like your hub on the internet is your website, that your own proper.com branded website, and then all these other platforms are kind of the spokes that you go out and you interact, and hopefully people discover your music, and then you drive them back to your hub online.
Yeah, I think that's becoming more important than ever. I posted a video on social media a couple weeks ago about social media, like marketing your music on social in 2023, and it was like 5 things you need to know. My 5th point was you better have a plan and a strategy to get your fans off social media, because you're going to hate to wake up one day and find out that TikTok got banned, or that Elon Musk got bored of Twitter and turned it off, or that the more pressing issue is probably what you mentioned, is that they're always changing these algorithms and limiting your reach to your fans. And it really makes it clear that, hey, if you have to pay to run an ad or boost a post to reach your fans, they're not really your fans. So that being key, and I love all the tools that you provide, and thinking about like the professional hub for your music, you need 2 of them. You need Bandzoogle and you need CD Baby, and between those 2 things, you have a powerhouse of tools to really build a fan base and turn that into real money. So let's get to your big announcement. I'm sure we'll weave in and out of these topics as we talk, but you've got a big announcement that relates to this. And I have to say, Dave did not pay me to say this, but I absolutely love the Bandzoogle selling tools. And so, Dave, you guys just put out a press release that just went out 2 days ago about all this.
Indeed, yeah, and you're part of, your band is part of these sales figures. So our members just crossed over $100 million in sales through their websites collectively, and that's all commission free. So all that money went directly from fans to the artists themselves. So we're super proud of that. It's a big number. It's a big number for, Bandzoogle is a pretty small company. We've been around for almost 20 years, and this is lifetime data, right? So one caveat to this is Bandzoogle launched their first MP3 download feature in 2006.
Wow.
To allow artists to sell their MP3s for $1 or albums for $10 or whatever. But that 100 million figure, over half of that is in the last 5 years. It's incredible. And we've just been seeing year on year these increases of direct to fan sales. And we think what's happening is that we're adding a lot more tools for artists to use at Bandzoogle.
Yeah.
Like we launched like a Printful integration last year or the year before, which made print on demand easily accessible through the platform. You don't have to worry about inventory or buying merch up front. You could just put up a storefront, connect it to Printful, and sell merch and only pay for whatever sells. So a lot of members are using that. So things like bundling and upselling and lots of additional selling tools for artists over the last 3, 4, 5 years. But, thanks to people like yourself and Chris and the whole DIY musician crew, like artists are becoming more and more savvy with direct to fan selling and engagement and becoming more attuned to that. And I think that just shows in the data that we're seeing that artists are really, driving their fans to their websites and converting on sales increasingly.
Yeah, I think there's several myths out there that artists of all shapes and sizes have the myths that need to be debunked, because I think the myth is that it's 2023, no one will buy a download. That's false. They won't if you don't offer it to them. Exactly. And the myth that nobody wants physical product, that's false as well. The interesting thing is, why I love your tools is you make it easy for independent artists to sell these things and try these things and try and fail until you find the thing that works. And I think that's what with merch, especially, and a lot of these things that actually drive real revenue for artists. The way things have been traditionally set up is that there's this huge upfront cost, whether it's getting this digital store where you got to pay a big monthly fee and service charges and things, which happened in the past.
Yeah.
Or go buy 1,000 t-shirts and roll the dice and hope that design resonates. And if it doesn't, well, you're going to be wearing that t-shirt the rest of your life because you have 1,000 copies of it.
Yep.
Or the Goodwill in your neighborhood is going to get a lot of t-shirts. So that's what I love about it, is that there's these ideas of like, I can just try certain things and put things online. It's commission free. If it's a digital download, it's super easy and you can try stuff and get creative. And I think that's the other thing that artists don't realize, that when you can sell anything that can come in a download form, you can get creative. So like, for example, my band, we made a digital box set. We called it Rarities, and we threw in some demo versions of some of our bigger hit songs, like the original writing demo, then the production demo, then the studio version that people were familiar with. And we just created this box set with a lot of stuff that was unreleased, and we sold it for $50 and we sold a lot of them. And so you're like, that we never would have thought of if we had this barrier of thinking, no, this is all these upfront costs. And so I love that about it. And I wish more artists would start thinking that way. And I think in 2023, maybe we're going to see a return to that, because I see more artists talking about, and more music business people talking about, to independent artists saying, why are you sending everybody to Spotify where you're going to get the least return? At least your diehard fans.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's such a great point. And we see that in the data. I mean, there's still millions of dollars of digital downloads being sold through our platform. And
Yeah.
so are all those fans taking those MP3 or WAV files and like uploading them to their phone or whatever so they can listen to them? I don't know. Maybe not. But they're definitely supporting those artists, and maybe they're still listening on Spotify because it's just easier or whatever. But if you don't, like you said, it's such a great point. If you don't offer it, then people can't support you. And especially, we really encourage artists to do the pay what you want model. Like, put it up, put a minimum of like 25 cents or 50 cents or whatever, and just let fans pay what they want to give you. And I know when I discover a song I really like, I try to find that artist's website and try to buy that song, and I'll pay 10, 20 bucks if they let me pay what I want. Because it'd be like, hey, this song made my day. Here's 20 bucks. Thank you so much. Instead of a Spotify stream, I want to be able to actually give you money. And so if you don't allow fans to do that, you'll never know. You'll just never know. So offering people anything from like pay what you want digital downloads through like what you guys did with like digital box sets. We have members who sold making of documentary films about the album that they had created, like, and anything digital, like digital merch, has become a growing segment of our sales, and digital lyric books and things like that. So, and it's so easily scalable on the digital side, that why not put things up that range from $1 through $50 and $100, and you're going to have fans of varying degrees of fandom, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's great because at Christmas time, we people buy a lot of physical merch, and we were making sales through our Bandzoogle website, but then those digital downloads kept coming through. I'm like, I'd pull up the sales thinking I have to start boxing. Oh no, just download. Perfect. That's free money. I did nothing. They have what they need. I don't have to do anything. The other thing that we did that it was an easy thing to do, and I thought, duh, why didn't I do this before? Is I just took our entire catalog and made an entire catalog download for a specific price. And you mentioned digital goods. Part of me thinks why this is going to be increasingly important and why artists should experiment, because I think with all the talk around NFTs aside, I think the idea of digital collectibles is in people's mind that may be more accessible to the mainstream masses, that, oh yeah, I would like to have a digital copy of these artists I support, or these extra items that by an artist that's I think is really cool.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know if you saw Bruce from Hypebot wrote an article about Taylor Swift did that just like last week or the week before. She released her new album in digital format with 4 different covers that created, I think, a larger artwork, I think. But the idea was that it was only available for a very limited time. It was not an NFT, but it used that kind of scarcity, exclusivity aspect, but made it accessible to the masses, being like, here's a digital, here's an MP3 album, but there's 4 different covers. And I think she priced them in a way that if you bought all 4, it basically added up to what a normal album would cost anyways. But super creative, and creating that scarcity of like, you have to buy in the next 24 hours or else these go down. So for the hardcore fans, of course, they want everything that Taylor releases. But she didn't do it as an NFT, which can be a bit, exclusionary, because most people can't figure out how to to buy an NFT.
And in the end of the day, isn't it the exact same thing? I mean, really, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
So,
do we need to have a fancy title for just like I own a download of something? Because like people are going to go back around and sell these NFTs. They're going to forget they have them, lose the hard drive it's on. Anyway,
totally.
Chris isn't here to fight back. He'd be like, "No, you're wrong."
Yeah, he turned around on NFTs. He started very
He
skeptical, and then now he's gone
yeah,
the other way.
yeah, yeah. No, and I said something about like, uh, I like it because it allows me to fail until I find what works. I think that's the thing about creativity. I think oftentimes creativity runs up against um, the cost of doing something. And if you eliminate the cost of doing something or the fear of failure because of the risk of that cost and artists not having a lot of money to invest in all these things, um, you could try what Taylor Swift did. It may not work because you're not Taylor Swift.
Right.
But who cares? It didn't work. Try something else. You might find that thing that works. I love, in fact, my band, my keyboard player just texted me the other day some sheet music for one of our songs that we kept getting asked for. I'm like, let's just wrap a couple of these up, put them up on our website and sell them. People that are fans will love that, especially if you just have some chord charts and some lead sheets. And a lot of the recording software people are using today have built-in tools that can help you do that. And a lot of artists have more time than money. So if you've got time to make these things, try it out.
Oh, absolutely. Tons of our members sell sheet music. It's funny you mentioned that. Like, it's one of those digital items I forgot to list off, but sheet music, it's incredible seeing how many of our members sell sheet music. It's one of those scalable digital merch items that takes a little bit of time to create them, but it's more passive income for fans that land on your site and see what you have available, and you never know. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you had some stats about the 100 million payout of like percentages of what that revenue came from. I'd
Yeah.
love for you to run down some of those because I think it's interesting to hear what people are trying and what, and it'll be interesting to see how these numbers shift over the next couple of years as artists continue to use these tools and think about their career of like, hey, if I want to make money, I need to monetize my diehard fans. That's not sending them all to Spotify to stream music.
No, exactly. So what was abundantly clear when we looked at this data was that it is vitally important for artists to have a merch strategy, because 75%, 75 million of the 100 million in sales was merch. So, 15% is digital music. And so I would imagine, and some of this has to do with, again, it's lifetime data. So how new the features are in our platform kind of thing. But, it's clear that merch is, the overwhelming most popular, thing that's being sold through our platform. And in fact, last year, merch was the top income generator for over 70% of our top 50 sellers on the platform. So over 70% of those top 50, they had merch stores. That's what they're generating income on. So it's super important. And again, with print on demand, we have an integration with Printful. It's super easy to get started and just create some merch, different items, and see what your fans are buying. Again, there's no risk. You're not going to be stuck with that box of 1,000 t-shirts in the garage. That being said, it's funny, when we first started working with Printful and we were having meetings with them, and on the education side, we wanted to know, what should we be encouraging our members to create? Like, what merch items should we, advise our artists to create? And they're like, look, it's all about t-shirts. Like, it's overwhelmingly t-shirts. So if they just start there, they're going to do fine. And there's like other little items, of course, that can be popular depending on the time of year, and mugs and things like that. But generally speaking, t-shirts. So if you're an artist and you don't have merch for sale, do some print on demand t-shirts and start there. And it's probably a really good place to start. So we learned that merch is super, super important for artists to have a merch strategy. Digital music sales still 15% of that total. And like I mentioned, there's still millions of dollars of digital music being sold, singles, albums, catalogs. So again, it's not something that's dead yet. In fact, it's still, Bandcamp is still a hugely popular platform. And basically what
Bandcamp's
they do.
thriving like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and ticket sale, like we start doing ticket sales, and that's probably it's the third most popular item that's being sold through our platform. Fan subscriptions is very small. I think it was only 1%, but it's a relatively new feature for
Yeah.
Bandzoogle, that monthly recurring fan subscription thing. And we saw, like, we launched it in 2020, I believe, or 2019, and there was some uptick from our members. And then the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
and then artists couldn't tour and gig, and there was such a renewed interest in the fan subscriptions feature that we started giving workshops again about it and writing new blog content about it to educate artists of, like, okay, yeah, we have this built in. Here's how you can use it to engage your fans and create a little online fan club for your music. And I mean, so many of our members started using it during those years. And we have some artists, like with all platforms, like, you look at the data, like we have some artists that are making six figures on their fan subscriptions, per year. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Most are not, but some
No.
are. But even if you're making 50, 100, $200 a month off, like, from your diehard fans who just want to have some extra exclusive content that's gated behind a paywall, and they're willing to pay the $2, $3, $5, $10 a month, whatever it is, that helps pay the bills. Like, that adds up because it's monthly recurring income. And it's a whole other discussion, the fan subscription thing. It's not for every musician. It's very niche, and you really have to be a content creator to really make it work and be able to justify charging a monthly fee. But some artists just set it up. They have their entire catalog there, any new music, and they'll do some exclusive, maybe live stream once a month or something like that. Keep it pretty simple, merch discounts, and charge like $5 or $10 a month, and it works for them. So, that's still a pretty niche thing for musicians. And donations, that's something we added during the pandemic, just a commission-free, like, simple tip jar, essentially. And going back to what you had mentioned about, why not put a digital, music up for sale? Why not have a tip jar? And we saw that during the pandemic, the average tip of our members that had this tip jar on their websites was over $40. The average.
Wow.
I mean, I think people were especially wanting to support artists during that time, of course.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at the data recently, but I'm sure it's not over $40. However, it's one of those things where if you don't have it there, then fans can't use it. So yeah, that's kind of some of the more interesting data points that we saw. And it's basically, it's all about merch, and also not forgetting about digital music, and taking donations, and basically offering a multitude of ways for fans to be able to support you. Like, it's so important to just not have, here's my Spotify link, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love all the tools that you all have to drive that. And the breakdown's interesting. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see how these numbers shift over time. Like, tickets, I could see rebounding more as, tickets, touring gets back more full force. Fan subscription, that'd be interesting to see how much that starts to drive over time. I think the thing I love about the way you guys have rolled out the tools is that when I think about, like, turning on fan subscription on Bandzoogle, it feels light, easy, and not a massive commitment. Where if I go to another website where that's their specialty, I feel like now I've got to build out a whole nother profile. Now I've got to create this whole other entity and maintain it. And I'm not going to try that. And
no, exactly. And it goes back to what we were talking about, running the fan subscriptions through your own website. It's your domain. You collect the data. You have all that fan information, and that they're on your website to get that exclusive content. And so it's just getting to that habit of having your fans visit your own website that you own and control, and that, won't disappear suddenly, or, things might change, or whatever the case might be. So absolutely.
Yeah. And you've integrated things like email. I think since we last talked, that was added. I might have mentioned that on the podcast. And so there's so much, even just cost savings from other services that you don't need if you just have a Bandzoogle setup. What else we got on here? We've got one thing I wanted to mention that I think is great, that I need to turn on my site, is you guys launched upselling pages recently. Tell me about that, because I think, a lot of artists may have experienced this, especially if you've bought something like, I seem to encounter the upselling a lot, like when I click on an ad in Instagram and like, okay, now add this, and this to your cart too.
Yeah.
So how does the upselling work with Bandzoogle?
Yeah, so that's something we added in the last year. We added bundling, so to make it easier to create bundles of merch and music and other items. But upselling, yeah, so basically you can sell items, and then you can choose a selection of items that when someone's buying something they've added to their cart, it'll suggest maybe you also want the t-shirt that goes with this album, or the vinyl edition, or what have you. It's up to the artist to choose. So it's not as in your face as probably some other e-commerce platforms with pop-ups and, but it's a kind of a nice gentle push for the fans of like, hey, there's other stuff in the store that's related to what you're buying. Do you also want to add this to your cart? So relative new feature, but again, it's just offering another way for our members to encourage their fans to maybe buy some extra things. And we added custom landing pages. So this is new for us, and it's basically just a completely blank page. There's no template involved. There's no header image. There's no menu. It's just a completely blank page that you can build out. And we encourage musicians to use these for a singular goal. So you have one merch item with a call to action, or what, tickets to one show, or if you're trying to drive, you can use them for streaming or what have you. But really, the idea behind them is to try to sell, whether it's music, merch, tickets. And so you're just building a landing page that's dedicated to a singular item with a call to action. It's super seamless and easy and simple and straightforward. There's no noise on the page. You can, of course, brand it, but it's really just focused on one item. And we see one of our members, Adam Ezra, who I think was on the podcast a while back. He's one of our...
he was. It was a great
super
episode.
Successful. I mean, what he does with his fan base is a model for all artists out there. I mean, just regular engagement, and he uses these landing pages to sell tickets to all these shows that he does. So it's just like, sending out a page. Here's where you buy the tickets. You can use these, of course, if you're running Instagram ads or Facebook ads, then you're driving people to a page that's very simple and actionable. So that's not something we added in the last year as well. So there's going to be more stuff on the way on the e-commerce side. We're always looking to improve based on the feedback that we get from our members. And that's the thing about our platform, which I should have probably mentioned at the outset, but like, Bandzoogle was founded by musicians. We're all a bunch of current or former musicians at the company, and so all the features that at Bandzoogle have been built out based on the feedback of our staff, but also the well over 100,000 bands that have used the platform over the last 19 years, and what they need. And that's always changing, as you know. So we always have to keep our ears to the ground and see what people are requesting. And landing pages is one of those things that kept coming up in the last couple of years. I'm like, okay, that's something we need to make easier for artists to build out pages that don't have all the navigation and all the things and the bells and whistles. Just they want to sell an item and they want to run ads and drive people to this page and track it. And you're able to track the sales from that page. We have page level. It went hand in hand, the two releases, but we added page level data. So now every page on your website, you can measure the data. So that helps when you're running campaigns for, if you're running A/Bing different things, or you're selling tickets at different shows and using individual landing pages, you can measure the success of all of those different pages with the built-in reports.
No, I love that. And that's, I mentioned already that having a strategy to get fans off of social is key. Just so you can own that relationship. Not saying that you shouldn't use social media, but if you think all your followers there are yours, you're fooling yourself. They're the property of that platform. They just are giving you kind enough to let you access them in a certain way for a time being. So that's why those landing pages are perfect for a strategy of like if you've got an audience on social offering, like if you have some shows you're announcing to sell a ticket to one show or one item. So when you're talking about, hey, I got this new cool t-shirt that's available in the merch store, just click the link, and they land on some page with a million links and it doesn't, so they're on their phone, which makes it even worse sometimes. It's like,
Totally.
how do I find that shirt? And they're like, never mind.
Yeah, and you can use them also. You can use them also to, speaking of data and like sending them back to your website. Like you can use these landing pages also just simply collect email.
Yeah,
like have
yeah,
an email
exactly.
sign up.
Exactly, yeah.
Just try to get, like you're talking about, like getting your fans off these other platforms onto your website and collecting their data. It's so important because then you can keep in touch with them. There's no noise. Like, I mean, it's crazy. It seems crazy in 2023. We're still talking about email marketing, but it's still super effective because it's so focused. People don't change their emails very often, if ever. So you're able to keep in touch with your fans in a more reliable way. You're not going to get 100% open rates, of course, but the reach is much more reliable than what you're going to get on social platforms.
An email address has truly become people's like digital address, and where they can be found online. And I was looking at some stats the other day from a marketing company that, on their blog, and email still converts light years ahead of things like social. And so people get social minded and they forget about email, but email is where people go to. That's where they go to like transact. Like if it's from something that they've subscribed to, that's where they're willing to click and buy. They're in their inbox. They're not on a social media platform doing something else, and then you're interrupting them. They are actually there looking at their mail. And so it converts. Yeah. So collecting those email addresses is great. Yeah. Those landing pages, I highly recommend to anything coming from social, whether you got ads running or you're just doing a call out, that you send them there, because that data is important too, because then you can also tell, was this working? Did that work?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because so much of, bettering your reach and building audiences is like, is what I'm doing working? Because if it's not, I'm going to stop doing it and try something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that having that data piece was very important for us, so you're not just flying blind of like, well, I put this landing page out there, I hope it works, but you can actually see how many people are landing on the page, how many people are converting on the action that you've put on the page. So yeah, that's the idea. So we've just really started going into the education on that. Like we did some initial announcements, and now our director of marketing, Wes Walls, is starting to give like workshops and webinars all about landing pages and how musicians can use these to kind of maximize some of their marketing efforts.
Yeah, excellent. Well, cool. Is there anything coming up that you can tease us with, or is it all on lockdown?
What could I tease everyone with Bandzoogle? It's the last year, I would say we've invested a lot of time kind of under the hood, just improving our platform, updates that our members don't see. But that process is coming to an end soon. And then it's going to allow us to launch bigger, better features more quickly. And so, we've been around for 19 years and technology is always changing. And we have to constantly maintain the platform so that it's up to date and has all the latest bells and whistles and allows us to build out the features that musicians need. So I would say that this year, after a year where we launched kind of less features and less new templates and themes that we would normally do, we're going to see a lot more updates happening in 2023, which is really exciting for us. But one of those things is, we're talking a lot about email, so we're in the process of completely revamping our mailing list tool. It needs an update. It works. You collect emails, send out newsletters. It's great. but we want to really improve on that feature and iterate on it and add some more functionality. So that's going to be a big thing that's being worked on right now. So I would say that's probably coming up next. And yeah, people should see a lot more new features announced this year than we did last year. Because again, it's sometimes you have to do some housekeeping on the technology side, and that's what we did in 2022.
All right. Well, people can go to bandzoogle.com/cdbaby, and if they sign up there, you'll get some free distribution included as well. So I'd encourage everybody to go there and do that. I was just looking in my account. We've had close to 300 sales from our store on our website. And I would guess, I didn't download the spreadsheet. I'm not much of a spreadsheet guy. I just like to shoot from the hip and make up numbers. I would guess that based on what we're selling, because like I said, some of those items were like a full catalog download that I think I had for $50. And then that rarities package. One of those I had for $79 at one point. And then, we have albums, and I don't have many singles. So I think the average sale was probably $15 to $20. So it's real money. And I look at it and I'm giving all this advice to artists going, I need to do a better job of this myself, because, even over the Christmas season, we kind of took this year off as a band, because we usually do a lot of shows around Christmas.
Yeah.
And I did zero marketing, and we still had sales coming through our website a lot every week. And so, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's especially if it's those digital goods, it's free money. It's free money.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's amazing.
All right, Dave. Well, hopefully our paths will cross in person again soon.
I hope so. Yeah, definitely this year.
Yes. Excellent. Well, thanks for being on the podcast, and we'll have to have you back when you guys launch some more features. And we appreciate what you do for artists.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thanks again to Dave from Bandzoogle for coming on the podcast. Lots of cool stuff happening over there. I use a Bandzoogle website for my band. So many amazing selling tools that a lot of it just feels like free money. So check it out over at bandzoogle.com/cdbaby. And if you use that link, you'll get free distribution as well. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.